Look, it's been a busy news week. We've been covering the elections and primaries, and hope you don't mind if we take a little break from that to discuss something that you might not have heard about in the mainstream media: adult breastfeeding relationships. I didn't know this existed, Elliot,
Okay.
but there's a story about Jennifer Mulford of Atlanta, who has left her job so that she can be available to her boyfriend to nurse upon her every 2 hours. This is a thing, Elliot. I didn't know.
Please enlighten me.
Well, she was single. And she was looking around at various dating sites, and she came across an ABR dating site, adult breastfeeding relationship, just in case you catch that before. And kind of piqued her interest. So she was like, wow, she was...
Your voice went out there that bit.
Piqued her interest. She said, when I read about the bond of breastfeeding could create between two people, I was envious. So she started looking for somebody who might be into the idea. And she came across her old school buddy, Brad.
Oh, God.
And
she knew him from before?
Well, they were talking. She got to talking with him one night, an old boyfriend. And turns out he admitted he really liked girls with large breasts. So she thought, oh, well, maybe he'd be into the idea of having a relationship where adult breastfeeding. So they got into this. And
it's not a conversation that is easily had. I've got to be honest with you, Mark. How do you? I'm not asking you for. How does one introduce that into the topic of conversation? One thing's a leap.
It would be. You'd be surprised how hard it is to find a taker, because this is what she said. When I read about the pure joy it brought others, I was desperate to seek out a partner to share an emotional bond with. I used dating sites, put messages on ABR forums, even put an advert in Craigslist, but I drew a blank. I started to think I'd never get to try adult breastfeeding. So apparently you put an ad in Craigslist saying, I want somebody to breastfeed on me, and then nobody wanted to.
No takers?
No.
Well, that happened with a couch I was trying to sell once. So
Yeah.
a similar thing. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
Come and pick it up.
Yeah, really.
Wow. It's not, I think it's Craigslist's fault, really. It's nothing to do with the item that you're trying to sell.
Can you bring it over and let me take a look?
Exactly.
Can I... Yeah, so apparently she couldn't find anybody when she was talking to Brad, and Brad was like, as a matter of fact, that's something I would be interested in. And so they decided to strike up a relationship. And what it means is, because her body's not producing milk, it involves milk.
Well,
okay?
yeah, I got that from the breastfeeding, the feeding part.
Yeah, so they have to trick her body into thinking that she's pregnant by doing it every 2 hours.
Doing what?
Well, he has to feed upon her every 2 hours in order to make her body produce milk so that...
God.
So she had to quit her job. She had to be available.
2 hours? What, every two? I mean,
every 2 hours.
That's a very time-consuming
He was like,
relationship.
is that what it requires? As a matter of fact, I am interested in that. And so...
it also means that he can't be doing a job either. How's he getting down the gym?
He's a bodybuilder.
How is he getting down the gym?
Look,
every 2 hours?
Yeah, well, you got to get your reps in, and then, it's just like another part of the process. She goes on to say this. We were talking. Brad told me he had a thing for big-breasted women, and that size had always been a factor in his relationships, and I thought it was a perfect time to bring up adult breastfeeding and see if he'd be interested. And as a matter of fact, he was really open to the idea. It was like a light switch flicked in his head. I could tell from his voice that he was curious and excited.
Curious and excited. Wow. Well, I mean, listen, the results are speaking for themselves.
Yeah, he's pretty cut.
You don't get that from whey protein.
No, he's been.
Well, maybe you do, but
he's been pounding the bags.
Shit. But that means that he can't do much with his day if he's having to suckle.
Yeah.
And I really never thought I'd use that word on television. Every 2 hours, what's he doing during the day? I mean, to say that's a codependent relationship is something of an understatement.
Well,
I'm not sure it's going to last. I don't want to cast aspersions and give relationship advice, but I don't know if it's sustainable.
Luckily, look how happy they are now. Like they found the dream person for, she needs that, and he digs it, so it all works for them. And
is that a shark steam and clean in the background there? Should we be worried that they've got one of those?
Well, you got to have one of those if you're going to be doing all that breastfeeding. I'm just saying, you want to be clean.